Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ask the Planman. I'm your host, Bruce Weinstein, coming to you through your podcast channels, everything you want to know about insurance, finance, and more, but we're afraid to ask. Today, I have a very special guest, Arman Eckelbarger, who is a health and wellness expert that I have been working with myself, and I wanted to introduce him to everybody today as we correlate health and wellness in the insurance space. Welcome, Arman, to Ask the Planman. How's it going today?
It's going great, man. No complaints. It's nice weather here in Crystal River, Florida, where I'm at, and can't ask for better conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. Florida living. We don't make 49 other states jealous, but yeah, it's all good down here. So tell everybody a little bit about you, your expertise, if you will, what you do, and obviously I know more, but they don't. So let's tell them a little bit more about Arman and why I thought this would be really a very educational, informative session for everybody today.
Sure. Well, my background is, I'm 58, and I've been doing exercise nutrition, as far as you know, yeah. Been doing exercise nutrition for close to 40 years, and learned most of it the hard way. So that's always been a refreshing approach for me. And when you're going through trying to figure out ways to get better results and impact your health and also how you look, I've had to kind of figure those things out through a lot of research and a lot of trial and error to figure out what works and what works for me and what works for my clients and things like that. So, my focus is really helping people in the areas of mindset, because that's a pretty critical element to nutrition and training and their overall recovery process. Then with that, you got to know nutrition, because that's really a critical element, because the fuel you're putting in your system is what's going to help you get the results you're looking for. And then understanding supplementation. There's a lot of wasted money in the supplementation, but there's also good supplementation out there. Then you also need to understand exercise. What exercise program or regimen is going to be best for what your goals are, and understanding the ins and outs of strength training versus cardio and those components. And then when you got that nailed down, we got to work on recovery. And recovery is what allows you to be ready for the next day, get up and do battle. Because if you don't get good recovery, you don't allow the body to do its normal processes, that's going to affect you. And then on top of that, the final step is to make sure you know how to optimize your hormone levels. Now, that's a lot more complicated, a lot more complex, because people don't know much about it, and even the medical community is not well informed. But that's one of the areas that is really important. So you need to understand that, in my opinion, for long-term longevity, and also to help slow down the aging process, which I'm a student of that as well, is how to be able to enjoy all the benefits of your hard-earned success.
Age gracefully.
Long-term, yeah.
All right, so you covered a lot quick. So let's just chop that up a little bit, and I'll put this in for Luke, the editor. Maybe we'll move this piece around a little bit in there. So I just want everybody to know, professionally, you've been a competitive bodybuilder.
Yeah, so, I have a IFBB Pro card, certified as a personal trainer with Nesta.
There's a number of aspects of insurance that is going to be 100% impacted on people's health. Not necessarily your auto insurance, not necessarily your homeowner's insurance, but your life insurance, your health insurance, your long-term care insurance, your disability insurance. All of these things are looking at people's predisposition, their current body mass index, their hypoglycemic levels, which is their sugars, right? Are they diabetic, pre-diabetic? And so everything that goes on, the insurance company wants to know what they're buying. And this is where my clients get frustrated in, what do they need to know that for? Like, why do they need my medical records? Why do they need my blood and urine? And the simple answer is, would you buy a used car without having your mechanic check it out?
That's a good one, because it's called underwriting. Well, they call it underwriting in the insurance world.
That's right. So the underwriter wants to know what kind of specimen. If I want $1 million of life insurance from somebody, they want to know what they're covering. And if I'm a 700-pound smoker diabetic, they're not interested.
Well, they're not interested, but if they are, it's going to be ugly as far as your pricing.
Trust me, that one's going to be a flat decline. If you have a 7 in the first digit of your weight, and it's not 70, and 70 is probably too low. So correlate that again. I'll tie it up. So life insurance is one where people will get what's called rated based upon their body mass index, meaning their height and weight. And there's a grid, folks. There's a chart. You're 6 foot tall. You need to be between this and this rate, and you'll be preferred. You'll be standard. You'll be standard plus. You'll be substandard. You'll be table H, right? And then they shoot your sugar levels, and then they come back at you're a diabetic. Well, now you're a table H, which is 4 times the rate that you thought you were going to get. Okay, so the tie-in for listening to Arman, folks, is if you're having struggles, if you're borderline, if you're not getting the coverages priced where you want them. Oh, and I talked about this with you this afternoon. Smokers, right? Smoker rates. Life insurance is 4 to 5 times more expensive for a smoker than a non-smoker. Well, I'm just confused. Why do you think that is? So anyway, let's toss it back to Arman. So we want to give people some ideas, some sense of what they can do on their own, what they can do with a professional, and help to mitigate the, as you said earlier, the aging process, the hormonal changes, the body's chemistry. And so let's start to break that down.
One of the things that come to the top of mind for me is, if you've been underwritten and you got rated, whether it's for disability or whether it's for life insurance, et cetera, most of the companies do have a clause where if you improve your health, they'll re-underwrite again, which is to your benefit, especially if you decide to make changes, which are only going to benefit you long term. You can get your rate lowered. So no matter where you're at with your insurance products, it's always good to work on your health and improve it. Then you can go back and ask for that rate change and get it. So, some of the things go ahead.
Yep. Thank you. So we have John Hancock has a product that rewards its clientele, our clients, for maintaining. It's a vitality program that gives them points for doing things that are healthy and promoting fitness. Seeing the doctor, getting certain tests, exercising a certain amount of time. And so if you can hit that score, let's just say it's 1,000 points, whatever that equates to, then they're going to keep your premium at the platinum level. If you only do 500 points, well, you're going to pay the bronze level, right? Because you didn't quite hit the 1,000. So the premiums are going to vary, to your point. And so I've got a client in this that has done so well that John Hancock did a write-up on this client of ours, which he shared with us, in their quarterly periodicals through John Hancock and the Vitality Program, of how well this client embraced it with him and his family. And nobody wants to overspend on insurance, and everybody balks at having it in a sense. But at the end of the day, people need life insurance. And if you could save, in his case, $1,000, $2,000 a year in premiums by just not picking up the cigarette or the donut or the can of Coca-Cola, and walk a little bit and keep your weight under a certain amount for your height. And so a great point that you mentioned and in the influence. And the next piece to that is, if you have a smoker that stops smoking and can prove it, you can go in and get reevaluated. If you have somebody that got rated, as you mentioned, they can go in and either reapply somewhere else or push back with the carrier to see if they'll change the rates.
Oh, exactly. And I've seen it done a lot, and it works. And again, the nice thing is if the carrier you're with doesn't want to budge, then you can switch it out to another carrier. But most of them, they're gonna listen, because if you can improve the risk pool of their clientele, then that's a win for both sides. And so they can give you more money back because their risk drops. So it's a common sense type thing. It's just a matter understanding what the underwriting guidelines are and then what you need to change to get a better rating. So you want to know what those are so you can focus on those things. And they are pretty fixable, but it is something that you can't just be doing the things that the mainstream media promotes, like a lot of sugary drinks and a lot of carbohydrate and sugary processed food, because we know what happens. You're going to gain weight. You're going to increase your triglyceride levels, which that's a huge red flag for an underwriter.
Let's keep it. What's a triglyceride?
So triglycerides are the sugars that actually get in your system that can cause blockage. So people get concerned about cholesterol. Cholesterol is not nearly as big a factor as triglycerides, and triglycerides are going to come from too much carb and sugar intake. So they'll come down pretty rapidly once you make changes. But there is one thing that can help that too, is just taking 100 milligrams of niacin daily or before you exercise will help push down your triglycerides really quickly, which is very inexpensive. Also, taking berberine is another great supplement that can help bring down your triglycerides, but also help bring down your glucose readings. And they'll get more stabilized because it helps to get the glucose process. One of the biggest problems you have in society right now in the United States especially is insulin resistance. And that's what creates a lot of these problems, because it also speeds up the aging process. So good point. Insulin resistance is basically you've been taking in so many carbohydrates and sugars, so many times a day that the receptor sites of the cells can't keep up with processing all the sugar and the carbohydrates. And so when it can't do that, and it can't process it, then it stays in your bloodstream. And that causes pre-diabetic conditions because it elevates your glucose readings, which, it's going to elevate your A1C, and that's just another measurement system of how much extra sugar is in the system that can be a problem. So if the A1C reading comes up, yeah, go ahead.
So when you're filling up your gas tank at the gas station, trying to squeeze in that last, couple of gallons or so, and then it starts squirting out all over you, right? So you're basically saying my body can only hold so much of this, and now this insulin, insulin resistance is it's not going to absorb it. It can't go into my pancreas or my liver or wherever it goes. And so now it's floating up, and then it's creating more problems, which, again, this is not a medical show, but when you have pre-diabetes and diabetes, it's impacting your organs. It impacts your circulation. People lose feet. It increases heart attacks, strokes. Diabetes as a problem, for those that don't know, impacts pretty much all your major organs.
Yeah, the biggest thing about diabetes, just so you know, is it starts to damage the capillaries, which is the extremities of the hands and feet, which can cause neuropathy, which is a numbness and a tingling sensation. So you don't want to get to that point because you're damaging tissue. And that's why you see people that have purple colored legs, walking around, that's dying flesh. So that's how extreme it can become to the body. So keep that in mind. If you start becoming pre-diabetic or diabetic, that's the thing that can happen to you long term.
Stay out of the dying of flesh column. It's one of my
a little
priorities.
Extreme, I guess, but
that's one of my priorities out there.
Well, my family had diabetes run in it, and I don't want to get it. So that's the other thing. That's my motivator.
Go back to some of your lists, and let's, again, correlate it to the so what's as you're describing this. Think of the so what's for everybody. And to the listener out there that doesn't have his 40 years or her 40 years of your experience, how they can start to correlate some of this, maybe some baby steps to. The key for everything is just to get started, right? I'm helping other people now with my weight loss journey, helping other people with their weight loss journeys. And the bottom line is, just get started, right? So,
well, yeah, you got to get started, but before you get started, though, you got to have a plan. So you got to have a strategy behind, okay, what do I want to accomplish? And if it's just to improve your health, your biomarkers like blood pressure, triglycerides, you know, glucose readings, things along those lines, and you got to determine, okay, what do I need to do to fix that? Now, good news is most of that's pretty much nutrition. Now, obviously, exercise can help speed up your processes, but it's nutrition first and foremost that causes most of the problems that you're encountering, you know, unless you have a genetic defect or something unusual. So it's all fixable, but it does mean making some lifestyle changes that you need to do. I mean, it all gets started when you're in your 20s and your 30s. You know, we're pretty much bulletproof. We can get away with a lot of stuff, okay, because you feel good, you got good energy. But as time goes by, what happens is with poor nutritional habits is you speed up the aging process. And when it typically happens here from excessive amounts of food, carbohydrates and sugars and elevated insulin for a long period of time, you increase the amount of inflammation. And inflammation is swelling of the body. So that's going to obviously increase your blood pressure. It's going to increase your cholesterol levels. And there's a lot of debate on the cholesterol stuff, but nevertheless, the underwriters look at it. So you have to kind of deal with that. So you got to decide, okay, how do I want to attack this and what's going to be the best approach for me?
As you're describing, don't just necessarily jump into it, and certainly depends on the age and the severity of somebody's situation, right? Because you'll see it say consult your doctor before consuming exercise, right? Like don't start running a 5K and you're still smoking 3 packs a day.
Yeah, on that note, don't look for exercise to solve the problem. So what I'm saying here is you're not going to train your way out of a poor nutritional regimen. So that's another thing that most people don't realize. So that's another, you want to like, okay, so I got to change how I'm eating because that's creating the problem to begin with. And am I eating too much? I mean, let's face it. You don't need 3 meals a day if you're not doing a whole lot. If you're sitting behind a desk and doing that kind of work, there is no reason for you to have 3 meals a day. It's kind of ridiculous actually, because you're not burning that and you don't need it to do what you need to do day to day. So that's one approach to kind of keep in mind is taking in too much food, period, because that also affects the digestive system, makes things age faster if you consume too much. So keep that in mind.
As you can attest, and my experience over the years, what you're taking in also triggers different hunger, right? So if you're a high protein intake, you may not feel as hungry or motivated to eat or panging for something versus if you take in a high carb regime, the carbs are burning off and you're back to being hungry faster and you're looking for more. There's the old joke about the Chinese food. You know, you have Chinese food, an hour later you're hungry. Well, because most of that stuff's carbs, right? It's fried rice and egg rolls and wontons. It's all carbs.
Well, there's insulin is the key thing here, okay? Because insulin, it is a fat storage hormone, but it's also designed to take the carbohydrates and the sugars and put them in the muscles and the liver. That's what insulin is supposed to do. But what people don't realize is if you're not active, you're not burning up the excess, then the body has no place to put it because the muscles and the liver are already full of glucose. It's been putting it in there all the time. So if it's full,
the tank's full already.
It's got to push it to the fat cell. And that's where you see people getting extremely obese because everything they're eating is going right to the fat cell. It's not going anywhere else because the muscles and the liver are full. So that's another thing that people don't understand is how insulin affects, how you're going to store energy and how you're going to, put it where you need it to put. So, and every time you consume a lot of carbohydrates, you've got insulin running all the time. And that's a huge problem because that also makes you work off the quick energy of sugars and carbs, but it affects your ghrelin and leptin hormones. Ghrelin hormone says, hey, I need to eat, I'm hungry. And then leptin says, hey, I'm full, I don't need any more. But when they get out of balance, the ghrelin keeps pushing you to continue to eat, so you feel hungry. So naturally, if you feel hungry, you feel like you need to eat something to keep your energy up. So the way I coach my clients is let's focus on burning fat as your energy system and not the quick energy of sugars and carbs. And just use sugars and carbs as needed to reload the muscles in the liver. and you'll burn a lot of body fat. You'll burn fat throughout the entire day when you do that. Protein's critical no matter what you do. You need to have protein because it's involved in every enzymatic process in your body. Now, protein also...
Slower. What was that word again? You say that word slower.
Well, protein is necessary for all the body processes, the enzymes and things that your body needs to get things done. So, a protein, basically, what you need is the amino acids. That's what comes from protein. And those amino acids can be used a lot of different ways for muscle tissue and other body processes. So getting the protein in is one thing, but what people don't realize about protein when you eat it, 50 to 60% of the protein you ingest actually converts to glucose. So you got another factor here, and that people don't realize that. They think if they eat 100 grams of protein, they're going to digest 100 grams of protein. It doesn't work that way. So, well, no, what happens is the amino acids can be converted to glucose again. So that's what happens. So you get typical sugar is 50% fructose, 50% glucose, unless it's high fructose corn syrup, then it's 55-45 as a ratio. So your body knows how to store glucose, but excess fructose is another thing that damages capillaries. So when you have high amounts of sugar all the time, that's going to cause another problem, but also it converts to fat very easily. That's why you have to really watch your carb and sugar intake if you want to stay healthy, feel healthy. These things also affect your hormone levels. Now, unfortunately, as we age, our hormone levels are going to drop anyway as we age because they're secreted by soft tissue glands. And what people need to realize about hormones is they are the messengers that tell your body how to operate. So if they're not working at optimal levels, then you're not going to operate at optimal levels. And so you'll slowly feel the difference over time. It's not something that happens overnight. So you start noticing you're not as much energy, your strength's starting to drop, muscle tissue's coming off, things like that. Yeah, brain fog is another component because you're not getting the brain to function as well because of circulation problems. But you need to have your hormone levels checked and understand where they are. And this is not an easy process yet in the United States, but it's better because once you know what your hormones are doing, then there's plenty of things you can do to improve them. And one easy thing to do to improve your hormones and also improve everything in your lifestyle is to do fasting. Fasting will elevate your hormones. Fasting helps get rid of senescent old cells that aren't functioning properly, which could in turn become cancerous. That's why fasting has a lot of benefits to it.
Are we talking like an intermittent fasting? A lot of people.
So there's different versions of fasting. You could do intermittent fasting, which is like 12 to 16 hours of no food, which helps to bring your insulin level down, which is great because now you can burn some fat. But also you get a lot of benefits from a 24-hour up to 3-day fast. And that sounds kind of extreme, but the body actually likes that. It helps to cleanse the body because you're burning up excess proteins that were undigested. You're getting rid of the senescent cells because the body cannibalizes the things that aren't being used and clears them out. So that's all good news. And you feel really good when you do it, but it's the idea of not being able to eat. So when it comes to fasting, what you have to do is get yourself into a low carb state so that you don't have elevated insulin. And then the fasting is very easy to do at that point. And what we're talking about on the fasting is just basically a water. You can have coffee and tea. It's just basically fluids to let your body eat up the systems that aren't getting used anyways.
I used to work with a guy that every Wednesday he fasted.
Well, like today's my fast day. I'm fasting today for 24 hours. Every Tuesday I'm doing a fast, and sometimes I'll do it on Saturday, depending on how much family activity we got going on. Sometimes that creates a snag. So you have to kind of plan out your fast too. But one thing about fasting, makes your day very efficient. You don't have to worry about eating. You just stay focused. You just keep going, and your energy's good, especially if you do it with being low carb. You won't hardly notice it.
So for you though, I appreciate you sharing that you're doing that yourself. Is that a non-workout day? Like, you're not going to work out and stress your body?
Yeah. So
right?
fasting is going to basically be for a 24-hour fast. Now, if it's intermittent, it doesn't matter. But for a 24-hour fast, I'm not going to do it on a training day. And the reason for that is if you train with resistance, what you're doing, you're breaking down muscle. And so when you break down muscle, you need the nutrients to help stop the muscle breakdown and boost the immune system back up and repair the muscle. So you do it on a non-high activity type of day. So I wouldn't recommend it if somebody who's training and doing a lot of cardiovascular work or anything, because that's going to deplete you too much. You just need to let the body do its own thing, because it does it really well. I mean, I'm pretty impressed by the benefits of it.
When you said it, it prompted me to remember this guy used to do it, and he was lean. He was a healthy, lean individual, and that's just the way he'd been for a long time. And I guess part of his routine is to keep his body level like that. So it's interesting. I know friends that have tried the intermittent. It seems to work for a while, then that's when they stop. Like everything else, once you deviate, your body starts to go back to where it's used to being, and that's another.
Well, on that note, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. So every day you can get a 16-hour fast, and that's great. Because you're going to keep your insulin down. It's going to allow you to burn some more fat, which is great. But if you can't do it every single day, it's not a deal breaker. But if you're struggling a little bit, then you just need to look, okay, how much food am I taking in? How many carbohydrates am I taking in? Is that a factor? So there's different strategies. You have keto, you got carnivore, you got other these, low carb strategies. I'm not a fan of those, just so you know. The reason I'm not a fan of those type of diet strategies is because it takes foods out of your system that are going to affect your gut microbiome. And that just basically means how your immune system works by the food you take in. You take in a variety of foods for different gut processes that keep your immune system boosted. So if somebody's eating a lot of processed food, their gut is not going to be in a good situation, and they're going to be getting sick a lot more often. It's very common. But if you're eating a lot of the right nutrients, you're going to make that gut function really well, which helps your immune system function at a high level, which helps everything else function at a high level. So this is another scenario.
Gut, gut, like your digestive system,
your
breaking it down.
Your stomach, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm just making sure I'm hearing the right word and how you're referring to it. So,
well, what kind of happens from grains like that is you produce more cytokines, and cytokines are just another name for free radicals. And what these free radicals do, they affect your other side of the fence in the sense that it causes more inflammation. So when you have inflammation, that it becomes systemic, gets in your bloodstream, and starts affecting all your body processes. So that's where the big challenge can happen from having too much grain, or if you're sensitive to it, that'll happen. Your antioxidant levels tend to get dropped down. Antioxidants are what offset free radicals. So when the antioxidant levels aren't being able to keep up, the free radicals take over, and cytokines are pretty common when you have grains that get in your bloodstream too much, and you just can't offset it. So that's another potential issue you have with any kind of system like that. So the gut system can break it down, but it's not breaking it down enough, and so the byproduct is more of that. That would be my guess on what was happening there. So when you eliminate that, you have less cytokines, your antioxidant levels perk back up, and it keeps the body in more homeostatic or steady stasis, is another way of putting it.
It's important stuff, and hopefully people are taking notes and understanding some of this. If nothing else, we're trying to raise awareness and get people to do something different and to improve their health and wellness. And as you're getting into some of the terminologies, but the point simply is understanding your body, your body's chemistry, and how you're impacting it with the things that you're doing that you've never probably been taught. I didn't learn this stuff in home economics.
Let me put it this way. If you use common sense and eat real food, not processed food, but real food, you get plenty of sleep, so you allow your hormones to do the work. You don't overeat, and you drink plenty of fluids, preferably water or iced tea or some things that don't have excess sugar in them. Your body does really good taking care of itself. just by doing that. And that doesn't affect your hormones too much. But if you're one of those people that eats a lot of processed food, eats on the run, stressed out, not getting enough sleep, drinking a lot of alcohol, and anything else outside of that for recreation,
It's legal in some states.
you're going to well, there's nothing wrong. I mean, there's a debate on that, but you're going to put a lot of undue stress on the body, which it can handle it for a while. It's just over time, the body's like, all right, we can't keep up. And that's why you have to, get yourself checked periodically with your lab work to make sure, how's my system doing? And then instead of taking a drug to try to put a Band-Aid on it for just treating that one symptom, because it doesn't solve it, it just treats it, you're going to get a better return by doing simple things, eating real food. Now, if it comes to eating meat, I'm a very high proponent of eating organic meat because the hormones and antibiotics, organic all the way around. Okay, you can't go wrong. Now, here's one thing. Just do this experiment. Buy regular meat, okay, and then buy some organic, put them in the fridge, and watch how fast the regular meat goes rancid versus the organic. So even though it's cheaper, it's still going to go rancid within a few days. You're going to be better off buying the organic because it's going to last longer. And then after you heat it up and cook it, if you want to use it for, the next day, you have a little bit left, you have some leftovers, it's still going to be good. And so that just means when it gets in your gut system to digest it, it's going to break down better. It's going to do what it needs to do. But I'll tell you, the food system, you got to do your own homework on that. Don't assume just because it's in the store there's nothing wrong with it. So, but it depends on how you want to prioritize your health. And then,
so you're saying meat, or you're saying red meat?
All meat. You want organic chicken, you want organic beef. Now, when it comes to organic beef, you want grass-fed. And same thing with butter. You want grass-fed butter. Margarine is not good for you. Processed oils like that they make margarine with, canola oils, all these others, those are processed oils. Those are not good for you. They cause inflammation. People think margarine is better or safer than grass-fed butter. What they don't understand is when the cows eat grass, what's in grass is a substance called conjugated linoleic acid. Conjugated linoleic acid is an automatic fat emulsifier. So grass-fed beef in general is 40% less cholesterol right out of the box. When you have corn-fed, you're getting genetically modified organisms, you're getting all these other things that aren't beneficial to you. So grass-fed beef is, if you're going to have red meat, organic grass-fed beef is the best way to go. Other than that, may not eat organic, or may not want to have red meat. I will say this, if you go to restaurants, I stopped eating steaks at restaurants because you don't know what's in them. Now,
so I'm about to ask you, how do you know? Your higher end places, you might assume, but
you have to ask. Now, I've had a few restaurants I'll ask, and I'm like, hey, is this grass fed? If so, how do they go about procuring it? And they're like, oh yeah, we were really into grass fed, that they know how to explain everything. It's like, okay, it's probably grass fed. Can you trust everybody? Well, maybe not. But at the same time, you're giving your best effort, but just don't assume that that's how it is. So restaurants, they have to make money.
You're not going for the $3.99 steak dinner and expecting to get grass-fed Wagyu beef.
Yeah, so that just, again, common sense. But again, if you're using natural food, okay. Now here's one thing I'll say about organic vegetables, or fruits, either one. If it has a hard cover on it, it doesn't need to be organic. Okay, like melons, you don't buy organic melons. You don't buy organic bananas. You don't buy organic kiwis. I mean, these things have covers on them. So the pesticides are going to be in the covers. They're not going to be inside the fruit. So that you're wasting money by, oranges. Don't buy organic oranges. It's nothing but a rip-off. So keep that in mind. Now, if it has a soft cover to it, like strawberries and berries, apples, and have the soft cover to them, then go organic. You're going to be safer with that. Grapes, that kind of stuff.
So if it has a skin but not a shell,
the cover, yeah. You're just wasting money if you buy that stuff organic that has a cover on it. It's not necessary.
The one that throws me is with the fish these days, with all the farm raised fish everywhere.
Okay, that's a good
fish.
that's a good one there. Let me just say this. tilapia is not a good fish. Okay, if you're gonna get fish, get salmon. Preferably cold water salmon. It has more omega-3 in it. Get like here in Florida, we have a lot of grouper. Get sardines have great properties to them. Of course, it could be an acquired taste for people, so that's another thing. But you want the white fleshier fish. So halibut's good, flounder's good. Obviously tuna's good. The thing is with the bigger fish, you got to watch the iron, the heavy metals in the bigger fish. But keep this in mind: even if you have some heavy metals, the bigger fish are higher in selenium. Selenium can offset some of the heavy metals. So there's a lot of debate that goes back and forth on tuna and stuff like that.
So with my program, the last 6 or 8 months, a lot more fish consumption, which was never big fish fan, but I'm enjoying certain things, and salmon's definitely one of them that my palate has taken to.
Well, it tastes good too.
It's frustrating. It does taste good. But it's frustrating because the majority of the stores are pushing farm raised. Then some might have organic. And then I'm always asking for wild caught. I want the stuff because to me, that's your free range, right? That's your free range chicken, and that's your grass fed. I want the fish that's in their natural habitat. I don't want them in a pen. I don't want them being fed or farmed, because as you kind of alluded to or maybe you didn't, there's if I have farm raised salmon and they're feeding it those kernels, like the corn to the cows.
Genetically modified organisms is what basically happens.
They're not going to. You're going to find you're not going to have your omega-3s in that salmon that you keep having because you keep eating farm raised or something that's just fed. And it's well, does anybody look at that? So for me, if I'm going to spend the money and the price is more than double, I mean, let's be fair. You could buy these farm raised for $10, $15 a pound, and then I'm paying $25, $30 a pound for the wild caught. So you're paying for the boat to go catch it, I guess, or whatever they do. But I'd rather spend the money and eat pure.
Well, you're getting better nutrients from the wild caught, and the same thing with let's use an example of eggs. Okay, now you don't necessarily have to buy organic eggs, but where I would draw the line is I wouldn't go anything other than free range eggs. So there's different debates about the free range eggs, but that just means that the chicken can run around and get some natural stuff from the ground along with what they feed the chicken. I think that's your bare bones choice when it comes to buying eggs. So I do free range or organic. And again, you just got to do as much research as you can on the company you're buying from, because unfortunately there is a lot of fraud in the organic area. Is just like with comes with anything, there's fraud everywhere. So do your own homework, be your best advocate for your food sources. And if you have somebody local, bam, right there's an answer. Get your grass-fed beef from somebody local. If they're raising chickens and have the eggs local, it's a win-win. And typically the prices are going to be better because you're buying from a local source.
They don't have to package and ship it across the country.
Yeah, they don't have all the callback or this went bad and spoilage and things like that. So again, just to kind of recap, you want to go with the natural occurring foods. You can't go wrong. Okay, stop buying man-made stuff in most cases. It's not beneficial. Okay, then also figure out the easiest way to prepare it and have it so it fits if you need something quick, have some strategy there. Now, if you're eating out, I got different ideas for that. I don't know if you want to touch on that or not, but there's different strategies I take that I also coach my clients on for eating out. All right, so
I want to give people kind of a mini to-do list, if some pointers here. But
okay, it's like for me, I like to be low carb throughout the day because that allows me to burn more body fat. Okay. So when I'm eating, I'm going to have low carb type meals. That's just going to basically mean more protein and fat. So I try to keep my carbohydrates under 30 grams so I burn more fat throughout the day. And that's not easy to do in some cases, depending on how your eating habits are. But if I'm out and about and I need something in a hurry, I'll typically go to a Chipotle and get a bowl without the rice and the beans. I'll just get either the salad and then the vegetables because it has a lot of fiber, which offsets any carbohydrates. And then I get the guacamole with the sour cream, a little bit of salsa, cheese. So yeah, I mean, that's a great little meal, and it fills you up pretty quickly, and you're in and out. And they say their meat's organic, so that's all I can tell you. They say their meat's organic, whether it is or not. Okay, but if you always want to be safe, just get the chicken or the turkey or the other meat sources that they have. And then, like, one place I really like to go to is BurgerFi. And they have that. It's supposed to be organic beef, and you can get a lettuce bun with it. And they have a white cheddar cheese, and man, they have good deals on them, and you're in and out pretty quickly. Just don't get the fries and other stuff that you don't
Oh,
need.
come on. That's the only reason I go is for the fries. Come on.
Well, the buns are good too, but you got to make some choices. Now, once you're
Promised
lean, then
pleasure.
it's a different ball game, obviously. But if you're trying to watch your body fat, you're watching your triglycerides, and you're trying to keep your blood pressure down. These are things that are going to help you do that pretty easily without adding a lot of stress to your day. You need the quick reflex type foods to go to. So if you don't have that, then chicken wings are very good for you. They're high in B12 vitamins, which is really good because you get that from meat. But chicken wings have protein and fat. They're very low carb, fill you up. You have some celery sticks for fiber, some blue cheese or ranch dressing. Make sure it's homemade, that kind of stuff.
You've referenced a few things around the word fat, right? And so, for the 40 some minutes we've been talking, we've never mentioned anything to do with avoiding fats. You've all talked about sugars and carbs as the avoidance. You've had sour cream and guacamole, and I'm getting hungry, by the way. And just listen, for the record, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching the video version of this, you want to look like Arman, you don't have the French fries at BurgerFi. You want to look like me, you get the family size fries. So I'm just going out there.
Let me throw this back at you. Okay, you can get the fries, but only on your carb reload day. So you have a day when you reload, you can have some of the things that you like. So I'm not saying you can't have them, but we're going to time that so it works in your favor, not against you. So that's the big.
So it sounds like you need
difference.
a plan. You got to eat. You need an eating plan and a workout plan and a hormone plan and a sleep plan, right?
Well, you need to, you need somebody can do a deep dive to see where you're at, so they can determine, okay, you're really good here, here, and here, but we need to work on this. And so that's the other thing too. That way, you're not wasting your time. Most people start trying stuff, and then it's not working the way they want it, and they get frustrated. Then they think everything's the same, nothing works, and that's not true. Things work. You just haven't been diagnosed with the best process to fix it. And that's where I help my clients is, when you do extensive lab work like I do with my clients, I'm checking everything, all your hormones and your typical blood cell count and your metabolic panel, the things that you typically would get at a doctor's office. They don't do hormones. They do some, but they don't do what I would do for a client. That gives an overall picture of how your health is and what's going on in your bloodstream. But then once you have that information, then you put together a winning protocol to help correct those deficiencies and put them back into optimal range. And that's where the real return is, because once they're back into optimal range, energy goes up, your biomarkers they get right back to normal, and you feel better, and you have a better outlook on life, and you're going to slow down the aging process. That's another thing to keep in mind.
Well, it sounds like a car tune-up, right? Like you got to if you don't get your car tuned up every
that's
often,
true. I mean,
right? It's not going to run efficiently, and it's going to break down. And
if you put sugar in a gas tank, we know what's going to happen. And is it going to be good, right?
Absolutely. So, Arman, tell everybody where they can find you, your podcast, your contact info. We're going to put it in the description below, but throw it out to everybody who's listening. How can they get a hold of you if they want to talk more with you or just learn more about some of these programs, either in local market or extended around the country?
Sure. I do a free consultation. It's a 45-minute deep dive consultation for people too, if they have an interest. So you can go to my website, which is Elite Exec Method, ELITEEXECMETHOD.com. You can email me, Arman, ARMAN, at eliteexecmethod.com. You can find me on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, etc. All that good social media stuff. Then the other thing, and then the podcast I have the Frank Mills Reality Fitness Show. I have 2 podcasts. The other one would be the NSP Nutrition Show. So I have 2 of those that you can get good information from. I've got a lot of these. Some of these topics are in depth. So if you have an area you're struggling in and you want to learn more about, the podcast can help you with that. Could you go through and pick out the show that correlates with what you want to learn more about?
Awesome. All right. Again, we're going to put that in the description below. So we'll get all that from you, and we'll make sure we post all of that. So to start to bring it to a close here, hopefully people got some solid information today in understanding how health and wellness impacts the insurance side of things, your ratings, your premiums, the protocols, getting approved. So that's why we thought it was pertinent today. I want to thank our guest, Arman, for joining us today. This has been Ask the Plan Man. I'm your host, Bruce Weinstein. Thank you, Arman, for being with us today. I look at 6 different places to make eye contact with you. I'm looking the wrong way. So look at the audience. I got to look that way. But I want to thank everybody. Listen, if you have any questions, text the word Planman 321-421-5213. Hit us up at info@theplanman. Submit your questions to us via email or call our 800 number, 1-844-PLANMAN. And last but not least, go to our YouTube page, go to our website. Anything that says Ask the Plan Man, you're going to find us in social media. So come back. Please like, subscribe. The bell's going to ring. Subscribe. Here it comes. And so like and share, and let's all do one step better, be 1% better tomorrow, get your health going on track, see people like Arman directly or somebody that you have confidence in. But as we say, get a plan, execute your plan, stick to your plan. And this is an email sign-in I've been using for years. You'll always get what you've always gotten if you always do what you've always done. So if you keep getting the same crappy results, stop doing the same things you keep doing and find something different to do. And I think that's what you're really sharing with us, is for people to understand what all this garbage is doing to them that they're taking in, and how they can improve that. So thank you for today. I'm sure we'll going to have more follow-up with you and get you back on down the road as we get through our cycle of guests here. But I'll just say thanks again for being with us, Arman. I appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for listening to Ask the Plan Man. We'll see you next time.
When you need some advice, never sacrifice, always get it right. Ask the Plan Man. Finance, insurance, and more.